Hi, this is Lee with learningwithlee.com, and we're on lesson 8 today, and this is called Div ID. Alright, usually you can tell right away what the lesson's going to be about, but maybe this one you're not so sure. Went ahead and set up my lesson page today so you don't have to watch me type so much. Okay, we start with HTML. I added a head here at the top of the page. Remember, that's not going to show up. Those are thoughts we're keeping to ourselves. Added a title that's going to show up here. And I called it dividers. Getting a clue about what a div is? Okay, we're going to organize our page again today. Just like the body and the header and the footer, those are just really for organizing our page. They're not putting a format in like the paragraphs or like here the heading, right? That H1 tag is giving it a format. It makes it a big size font and it puts space around it, above and below it. But header and body, footer, and now divs, it's not a format. They don't do that. It's just for organizing our page. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. We're going to go ahead and add some divs to our page. So everything in the body is affected by whatever we do to the body of anything that we tell to do in the body is going to affect everything in here. Anything we say to do to the header is going to affect just this part of the code. Okay, like when we start styling, we could say make the header have a background color of white. Okay, and in the footer, let's have a smaller font down there or something. Okay, well, div's going to work the same way. We can have a div. We can let's put some paragraphs in our div. So if the type, we'll go ahead and put in some Latin. We can go ahead and put another paragraph in. Now we could say, just on this div, I want, background color of gray. And we can do that because it's separated out from the rest of the body of what's on your web page. We do that by giving it an ID, an identification. The ID is, paragraphs, the paragraph section of the page, right? Or we could call it, you might call a section like this info on your page. And then you could say, and even when we get to something called JavaScript, you could say something like, if they click the X, take the info off the page. You can close that section of the page and hide it from view if they click the X. Okay, but in order to do that, it needs to know what part of the page you're talking about. And divs are a way we can label one section of the page in order to talk about that section of the page. Okay? So it's just going to be a tool for us. Do you remember how to do links? These links have an attribute, okay? Divs, you give them attributes. They're not so useful on their own because they don't do any formatting. You need to give them some kind of attribute. That's what we call this when we label it with something. So for a link, the attribute is the link you're going to, right? And you remember, all this is really important. The quotation marks are important. The equal sign is important. The spaces are not important. Okay. And then in between here, remember what you put? Come learn with Lee. Okay. So that's what actually shows up on the page because the things inside the tags do not appear on the page. So this is not going to appear on the page. They're not going to read that this section of the page is called info. Okay, let's give this an ID too so it can be useful to us. This will be the links section of our page, right? Maybe on your website you'll have a section with links. So let's go ahead and look at this online, see what we got. So projects, lessons, lesson 8, okay? So here are those two paragraphs. Remember, in here, in this section, I can't even highlight it, in between these two are where we had a closing div and an opening div. Right? But there's no extra space here different than just what's always between paragraphs, right? And then here's our link, and then here's was our footer, right? And this is the H1 heading at the top of the page. So this is going to be a useful tool as we get into some of the other languages. So we're just using it now because it's in the HTML, and it's going to be more useful later, but you're going to end up putting divs around a lot of what you do. So it's a good thing to learn and a good thing to practice. So go ahead and add another section to your page, add another div, give it an identification, an ID, make sure you use the equal sign and quotation marks, and just add more to your page and practice with it. And I'll see you at the next lesson where we'll navigate around the page, I think.